Alright, so I'm back, and today we are going to do a rant of the week. Haven't done that in a little bit here. And today I wanted to do a topic, and I think I've mentioned this before, but I wonder if this is coming through on the camera. If you got that, we're in the middle of a lightning storm. Lightning and thunder. It's pretty cool. Anyway, so, and I'm sure I'm gonna get some shit for this one because of, what as a group of collectors we have already gone through so far in this topic. And the topic today is going to be Masterpiece Dinobots. And I think it's time for a new set. And I know there's a lot of people that are like, oh God, what the hell's wrong with this guy? What? Why would I really hope this is coming up on the camera. Oh man, that sounded like it hit the house. Whew. Jeepers. I really hope you guys are hearing thunder out there. Otherwise I'm just gonna look like an idiot. Anyway. So let's talk about Masterpiece line as a whole, leading up to the Dinobots that we have, and then going into now, and why I think that it's time for a new set. So, if you remember from MP01 to MP09, the overall project plan for the Masterpiece line was just making a good figure and just doing whatever you want to with it. Scale-wise, I mean. So that's why MP01, the Optimus Prime, was massive. And then the Megatron, I believe, was around the same size, not quite the same size. And then Grimlock was tiny. And Starscream was tiny. And Hot Rod, or Rodimus Prime, he was tiny in comparison to what we were getting. And they were also just their own designs, too. They had nothing really to do with each other, and they didn't have anything to match with, because they're just like, yeah, whatever. Like, that's why MP03 looks like ass compared to MP11. And it's the same mold. They just had to heavily retool it, because there were so many things, because the goal of that figure was to make the best looking alt mode, and that can still transform into a robot. Their concern was the alt mode, and they kind of threw the robot mode to the wayside, and that's why they had to revise it moving forward. So anyway, so most of us know all this, but then you get to MP10, and this is where they're like, okay, kids' gloves are off. We're making this an actual viable toy line. And I remember rolling my eyes back then like, oh my God. You really think people are going to buy a full line of these things? These cars are $50, $60 a piece. Who? But that was kind of like a lifetime ago. And so what happens with MP10 is that the first thing that they look at is not just like where they could take that line from that point on. The first few releases, I think it was Sideswipe, Prowl, Soundwave, but also they wanted to look back. What figures will fit? And I think that's why they picked MP10 to be the size that he was because he did fit in scale with Rodimus Prime. And the Rodimus Prime, I will say, but design-wise, I don't think the Rodimus Prime fits with the Optimus, aesthetically, anyways. And then the Starscream, they're like, hey, this scale-wise, this works for the Optimus Prime, but the design sucks and they had to redesign it. Then they looked at Grimlock and they're like, man, Grimlock is just a hair too small to be head-to-head with Prime. But it's closer than what we had, which was nothing. And rather than making a new Grimlock, they just went with that one. And that's why they reissued him and stuff like that as part of the newer Masterpiece line. So that's why, that's why, how they played that whole thing out. So now we have a Grimlock that's just a hair too small for the Optimus, but, a lot of the collectors, especially at the time, myself was included in that, that was like, you know what, it's close enough, I'm good. And it fit with the MP10 aesthetics. Like, you could see, like, the rivets and the parts and the moving, like, it just looked like the MP10, because the MP10 had lots of rivets and stuff like that, too. Like that real world look that's conveying what it would be like if it was in a real world Transformer type thing, in a way that laughs at bay too. And so from that point on, that was the Grimlock. That was our starting point for our Dinobot collection, for a lot of people. And 3 companies came out and started making Dinobots for the MP scale. 2 of which fell right into line with that Grimlock, and that would be the Fans Toys and Bullsfire. Fans Toys, which made a really good intelligent play on this part, they wanted to match the aesthetics of the Grimlock, and they also put their own Grimlock at the end of the line, because they didn't want to jump in and go right competing with Takara, and instead they wanted to make a line of figures that can go with the Takara, and at the end replace the Takara with something that fits more into their line. Very, very smart way to do it. You jump at Grimlock first, then you're competing with Grimlock, and at their $200 price point, and the Grimlock being, I think he was $60 to $80 US when he got released at Toys R Us. It's like you can't compete with that. It's like that Grimlock, the Fans Toys Grimlock is better than the Takara one, but in most people's eyes, is he 2.5 times better, like money wise? I don't know. Anyway, that's why they also, like, when they released their Scoria, they released feet plate to make the Grimlock a little bit taller to fit in with their line for as long as they could. Bullsfire also was like, hey, you know what, we're just going to make our Dinobots in scale with that Grimlock, and that's why they started with their Swoop, and he was in scale with it. It was a piece of shit, and that company folded after that. So, or maybe just changed names. But anyway. And then Gigapower, who was like, hey, you know what? Fans Toys is doing this, matching the aesthetics of that. So we're going to do a slightly more Neo look, but we're going to focus more on making them bigger so that they're bigger to the Dinos mode. It's like if I were collecting the Dinobots for Dino mode, it would be Gigapower on my shelf, not Fans Toys. I guarantee you that right now. I think the Gigapower robot modes were just too big for me. But the Fans Toys ones are just right where I want them to be. So that brings me to why I think we need new Dinobots. And the reason for that is aesthetically, these guys fit really well with where MP was when MP10 came out. You got your chrome, you got your silvers, you got your like I keep saying, like, he's got all these rivets in there and stuff like that. He's got a lot of detail work on him, which looks good. I'm not saying these look bad at all. However, nowadays, we are going more for the cartoon aesthetics with a lot of figures. So like here's the X-Transbot's Perceptor, where it's like, yeah, he's got some line work, but he's very, very smooth. Like the plastic, it's very smooth overall. Yes, he's got some twists and turns and some things that make him look good and stuff like that, and a little bit of silver paint here and there and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, he's very much, he doesn't have the same kind of sculpted detail that the Grimlock has. And he's also fully painted. A lot of figures nowadays are being fully painted, whereas these guys, they have paint accents, but they're not fully painted. Alright, so that's the first thing I want to point out. Like aesthetically wise, they don't quite look like they fit into this new, more toon look that everything is moving towards. And then there's the coloration issues. So, the G1 toys, they had the silvers, the chromes, the golds, the grays, the blacks, the reds, the blues, really rich, vibrant colors. G1 toys, and I think Gigapower and Fans Toys, the G1 figures, also had the clear plastic that goes over the gold pieces to kind of cover that up. Stuff like that. All these different accents. But then you go look at the cartoon. What color are the Dinobots in the cartoon? You have your blacks, you have grays, you have some reds, and blues for, red for like Grimlock and them, and blue for Swoop. But they're not silver. They're gray. You can make that argument, well, it's supposed to be silver because they can't quite get silver on original cartoon. And they're not gold. They're yellow. And I know what you're saying. Like, again, John, you're an idiot. They were only yellow because they couldn't paint gold. And I understand what you're saying. I fully get it. But that raises the question of, is Starscream supposed to be chrome then? Or silver? Is because he was gray. So are all gray figures supposed to be gray? And then your argument there is going to be like, well, no, they're going off of the G1, when it comes to stuff like that. Alright, cool. What about Megatron? What about Megatron? Because, and he's the best example of this, the toy was silver. The animation model was gray because they couldn't do silver. He was actually a very similar gray to Starscream. So it's like, why is he gray and he's, silver, in real life when they're both the same color gray in the show? It's like, why is one silver and not the other? But the MP version of Megatron is gray. He's gray. He's not silver. Yeah, there's a silver version, and yeah, it's some, he's got like little metallic, it's like kind of a metallic gray, but it's still gray. He's not silver. He's not. And if you look at the third parties, Apollyon, the X-Transbots, and Make Toys one, those were both silver. Then you look over the Unique Toys. Was it Unique Toys or DX9? I think it was DX9. You look over the DX9, and it's gray. MP, like I said, the first MP was silver. The more updated MP is gray. So, and again, the more simplest look, and that's very much how the Dinobots were. They had a much more simple look in the cartoon. They didn't have so many details. So, I think that we need new Dinobots for the new animation style aesthetics that MP's going for. Similar size, kind of smooth out a lot of the details, like take out the rivets and stuff like that. And I know I hate to say it because I think these things are beautiful. And then fully paint them. fully paint them gray, with little accents of silver, and paint the gold yellow. And I know people are out there like, dude, that sounds stupid. But here's my argument to it. Like, first off, here is just a quick picture of the G1 Dinobots with their yellow chest and their yellow, accents. It's yellow, not gold. And I know. But a few years back, DX9 did a set of Dinobots. Come on. What are you doing? Just show me the picture. Just show me the picture so I can show it off. But DX9 did a set of Dinobots with yellow instead of gold. And I think I reviewed them. I can't remember. But I thought they were awesome looking. There were... Yeah, here's Deluxe's review on them. But, yeah, there's the yellows instead of the golds. And I think, if they made them more simple, like I said, and fully painted them, so they look like, cartoon counterpoints, and give them a nice, rich yellow paint, like, he's all the way over there, so I don't want to grab. And he's all the way up there, and like the drag strip, you can kind of see his leg there. A nice rich yellow, maybe make it a metallic yellow, so that it's like it looks kind of yellowy, goldish, but more yellow than gold, because that's what it looked like in the cartoon. And I know, like I said, that's not what they meant to do, and it's not about what they meant to do or what they were capable of doing at the time. What I'm talking about is what they did do and what would look closer to that animation. And if we're going for this animated look, we should go all in on the animated look, as opposed to, well, these guys are animated look and these guys are not, and we just kind of see which ones fit the best. So yeah, that's my thoughts there. What is it that you guys think on this topic? I just kind of wanted to throw that out there and let you guys kind of mull it over. Because like I said, it's hard to say. It's like, like Superion, I'm like just looking around. Superion, he had yellow legs. Does that mean he was supposed to have golden legs? It's like, which one is right? It's hard to say. But I think if we're going with the more cartoon look, we should go all in on the cartoon look. And, the grays should be grays. Maybe metallic grays when they're supposed to be silver, but still gray. And then the gold should be yellow. Maybe a metallic yellow, yes. But it still should be yellow, not gold. Definitely not chrome, because you just can't do chrome. So yeah, I guess that's all I got. So, yeah, what are you guys' thoughts?